Welcome back to another episode of the 10 Dimensions of Wellness podcast. As you guys know, I am your host, Cammie Red, and today we're joined by someone whose story and mission are truly inspiring. Meet Cheryle Hays, founder of InPower Strategists and a VIP coach for this year's 10 Dimensions of Wellness Virtual Summit. Cheryle's journey from a challenging past to a purposeful present fuels her work in helping leaders and individuals unlock their full potential. With her expertise in cultivating psychological safety, she's dedicated to helping others move from reactivate to response mindsets. We find calm amidst chaos and live with intention. Now, in this episode, Cheryle will share her personal journey, the lessons she learned, and the practical advice on reclaiming power and creating empowered spaces for growth. If you're ready to embrace intentional choices and foster positive change, this episode is packed with insight to help you get started. Let's dive in with Cheryle Hays. Hello, Cheryle.
Well, hello. It is so great to see you, and thank you for such a very warm welcome.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. Can you tell us about InPower Strategists and what inspired you to focus on empowering leaders and unlocking human potential?
Well, I guess it gets into my whole life story, so I'm not going to go there. But why Empower Strategist when I formed the company is the word in, not EM. That is an external thing. But if we empower ourselves, and I started trying to understand what that meant, and it was because of the struggles I went through. And then I started looking professionally, and then I started looking at my leaders going, wow, no wonder you're messing up. No wonder you're not leading as well as you could because you don't understand how to lead yourself. And so it kind of became a full circle, right? I had to look at myself, but also impacted my role as a parent.
Tell us about that. How did this experience sort of shape your role as a parent?
Growing up in a very abusive home and being kicked out at age 18, it makes it very hard. At one point in my life, I never wanted kids. And then when I had one, I thought I'm going to repeat the mistakes of my dad and do that. And there was one very pivotal moment when I was sitting there holding the bathroom door closed. I wouldn't lock it. This is the logic that was not going on at the time, or was. Here I am, a parent wanting to do my best. I was at the end. I wouldn't lock my kids out, but I wouldn't let them in either the bathroom door, and I'm holding it. And my son starts singing, "I Can Show You the World," through the door. And I thought, I'll never do to them what was done to me.
Yes.
And now, opened the door and went, I need to change and make sure I continue to grow in that revelation of myself to be the best mom I can be for them.
I absolutely love that story. Now, how did this experience shape your mission to help others shift from reaction to purposeful response?
Well, what was happening is because of my upbringing, and then unfortunately, I'm one of the women that have had several different sexual assaults and things happen to them. I am just like some kind of weird magnet thing going on here. And I realized that everything I was doing still had me looking back. It's why I struggle with we're a victim, then we're a survivor. Then maybe we become a thriver, but all those have us looking back. And even though we can do something great from it, it's always in spite of this. Instead of understanding because of these bad things, I can rewrite my life and be something better than I ever expected to be. And through that, how do I help others? So when I looked at leadership as a mom, in the professional world, I thought, what is my real role? My role is to help unlock others and get them, and let's find alignment and work together. It again, you can't separate you from you. So
true. That's true. Now, you just talked about being a victim to a survivor. Your journey from victim to visionary is a powerful one. What was a defining moment or lesson along the way that changed your perspective on personal power?
Okay, this is a an interesting one. So, one of the things, not just physical abuse, but verbal. I was raised being told how stupid and ugly I was.
Mm,
And a woman's role, I could be a secretary. No offense to secretaries, I was one. Now we're administrative assistants, but it was because a woman should never be a leader. I could be a school teacher, but only of elementary students because a woman should never teach a man. I could be a nurse because a woman should, guess what, never be a
a
doctor.
doctor. Yeah.
Right. And so when I left home and I went through unfortunately, my first husband parented a lot of that. And then I found belly dancing. I saw some women at the Oklahoma State Fair, and, they weren't just all these goddesses, they were just older. They were not perfect figures, how you might define it. They enjoyed themselves. They were comfortable in their own skin. And I thought, I want that. So I went and found a place, and I went from thinking I am not pretty, but I can make you think I am, to thinking, wait a minute, I'm telling all these women that God doesn't make a mistake. The creator doesn't make a mistake. You are who you are and you are beautiful. Why aren't I believing it? And
Yes.
that was my epiphany moment when I thought, I've got to be more than lip service. And I need to understand what real beauty and uh, real self-worth, self-efficacy comes from, and chart that path. So that was it. So me being a
Okay.
belly dancer, who
Now,
knew?
when you faced overwhelming emotions or difficult situations, what personal practices do you use to stay centered and move from reaction to response?
So a couple of things are going on in our brain, right? We actually have two brains. We have the primal brain people hear about that's emotional, that has no language. Um, but it controls our fight, flight, freeze. It controls what comes out of our mouth, because our logical brain is trying to put context and create an environment where the emotional brain is satisfied, where it feels safe. So when I started recognizing what I was doing in work, where I would constantly defensive, or with my husband, constantly defensive, constantly defending myself, cutting down others, making excuses, that was me being a victim. And I found out, for me, the word was respond. If
Hmm.
I just spelled respond, if I just chose to RESPOND, then that breaks the cycle. It moves you to logic because you're spelling, but then I remembered how I defined what response means. So there was the two components. And as I've grown in that, I realized it didn't just give me back control in a conversation and in a situation, but my goal started really expanding to include others. And then it not just started changing a situation, but it changed my life. And then it started changing other people's life around me. It was a fascinating thing to watch how, because I made one choice to respond and not react, it
Hmm.
changed how everybody treated me.
I love that. Now, through your work, you emphasize empathy and growth. What surprising benefits have you experienced from embracing this response and this empowered approach?
I didn't realize it would grow empathy. Um, who knew? But I thought I was pretty empathetic. But
Hmm.
because I started understanding what's going on internally in me and what the stories of my life, how it's programmed my brain, and thought I need to reprogram myself. Then when other people started being very, very aggressive, when they were hateful, when they were um, trying to be the dominant figure, whatever was going on, I could look at them differently and go, oh gosh, what's driving this? That's sad, because there is something personal in their history
Hmm.
that's making them feel this is a win. So just looking at it that way, I started becoming more curious and trying to seek to understand. And then going, wow, I may not agree, but I can see where I understand where they're coming from. And look what they went through. And that started growing my empathy. So it would be like if you and I were having conflict and I go, that's okay. You don't have to really like me because I'm here to make it work for both of us. And the angrier you get, the more I'm like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll find out where we are in alignment. We'll find out the best way forward. And if we can't, we will still agree to honor and respect each other and
Okay.
treat each other as equals. And it just was a life changer.
I love that.
Tammy, it just was.
Yeah. Now, you describe self-motivation as a choice. How did you develop this mindset, and how has it helped you stay focused on your goals?
So as I started looking at being a leader and trying to motivate others, especially going through this whole journey that I have, I realized that no matter how much you give in, no matter how much you give to, no matter how much you put yourself second, you can give and give and give and give and give. And if you've ever been, most mothers do that. Most of us who feel insecure at work do that. Most of us, because we like other people, feel the need to do that. But you never reach a point where it equalizes. And so I realized you can give everybody anything. It's where the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. All right. We can give them everything that they say they want, but it may not be what they need. And it doesn't mean they're going to go, that's enough. And if you look at the world today, it just breaks my heart. How I see that we have gone back to even being worse enemies just when we are beginning to come together and understand the blessing of who you are, not what you are, who you are, and what you bring to the table. And so that's what I seek to do, because I just feel we're lost without changing the world one person at a time for the better.
I love that. I love it. Now, you mentioned that you teach others because you discovered a method that worked for you. What key lessons did you learn from that experience, and how did it become central to your work?
I'm a little confused, and my apologies for that. From what did I learn from teaching others, or?
No, from you say you teach others because of what you discovered a method that actually worked for you. So what were the key lessons that you learned, and how did it become central to your work? How did it become more effective in what you do?
So the first lesson I learned was that I had to not react.
Okay.
That was my lesson number one. How do I stop myself from reacting? So I chose to respond. Okay, what am I responding based on? What do I want? Well, I just don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be run over. So that was like the first iteration. And then I started realizing what was going on, that, wait a minute, that's still not a good win for everybody. So I started then looking at, what do I want to accomplish in any situation, whether people like me or not, whether they're worried, whether they're scared, whether I am. What are some common goals that I should have that always seek to bring out the best in everybody and in the situation? So it's no longer about just the situation. It's about all these surrounding things and the people involved in it. That was the second iteration of it, so that I could come up with a way when I responded, I'm responding not based on accomplishing Cheryle's goals, but based on accomplishing what are the right goals. And sometimes that may mean Cheryl's wrong and she has to own it, or that there's information she didn't have, she needs to learn. So those were the two steps. And then I moved forward into understanding. By doing that, I began to reflect on why I was the way I was. And then I started saying, well, wait a minute, that's not the lesson I wanted to learn. Why would I want to give somebody who sexually assaulted me in the past that power over my present, or what my dad did, or whatever? So I started reframing the lessons and went, wait a minute, look what I actually learned from that. Look who I've become because of that. And then I could start responding based on who I wanted to be tomorrow, not just how I wanted to survive today.
Okay.
And so that was the iteration. And I use that in businesses to come in and workshops to help people understand psychological safety. It starts inside, and how that creates conflict. I use it to help individuals one-on-one understand, well, we don't have the presence we think we do. executive presence, our reputation, or how can I just simply grow myself holistically?
Okay, that actually answered my next question. I was going to ask you what centers your work centers around psychological safety, and you literally just answered it with that right there.
Yeah. Well, people don't think of it being starting internally.
Yeah,
Um, but it does, because it's how I choose to respond to you, but it's how you're choosing to respond to the world and yourself as well. So I start with leaders. And then we start bringing the team into alignment and understanding it's more than just a policy.
yeah.
It's more than lip service. It's more than let me hear you. It's understanding where what you're saying is coming from. And
Okay.
that adds a whole different level to it.
Now, for those feeling overwhelmed, you've advised that you don't have to react, you can choose to respond. What are some practical steps to help someone start making that shift in that moment?
All right. One of the first things you can do is if you find yourself frequently in a situation, so I may not be able to stop you immediately because we're just starting out, right?
Hmm.
But if you know you're going to be meeting up with somebody, or you find yourself in the middle of a situation where you feel that you were just hit by a brick wall and you're like, whoa, I'm being attacked, right? The first thing you do is go, nope, I'm going to respond, not react. That just gives them power. And when we respond, and the way you respond is you might go, wow, Cami,
Hmm.
it's interesting you would say that, because it sounds like you're attacking me, but I know that's not what you're really doing,
Yeah.
because we work together. Now, I'm going to stop it right there and say, you may not believe that when you say it. You may go, this person is a real jerk and they are out to get me. But by flipping it and asking a question and saying, oh, that's an interesting observation. Are you trying to attack me, or am I missing what you're trying to do to help us work together better? It puts them on the defensive, and I'm not trying to make them defensive. What I'm trying to make them understand is I want to listen, but I'm not going to listen to an attack.
Okay. I like
Does that make sense?
that. Makes a lot of sense. Yes. I want to hear you, but I just don't want to hear you attack me. So
Yeah.
talk to me in a logical way that is not going to put the blame on me, but explain to me what you're feeling.
And because I keep it on me, it sounds like you said that, but I know that's not what you meant.
Yeah.
It gives the other side a way out, because
Okay.
you see, I may realize I'm the one being emotional.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may not really be them. So it gives me a way out. So, one thing to understand, and this is really, really critical in a conversation, the receiver of the message has all the power. You
Mm.
can be as hateful to me in a statement, or as mean, or as cutting me down, or whatever, as you want to be. It has no power over me outwardly unless I allow it.
Yeah.
Now, that's not going to overnight change the inward. That's not going to overnight empower me. Okay. That comes because I start realizing, wait a minute, no, I'm not going to let you take that kind of control from me. And I'm scared and I'm shaking under my desk, but I'm going to throw it back at you nicely. And
Okay.
that's my line. When I started doing that, I realized, it's changing me inside.
I like that. Now, in your experience, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about leadership and empowerment, and how do you address these with your clients?
Regarding leadership, most leaders do not understand their real role. They
Okay.
understand the task, and then they're driven by their personal what's in it for me and what's in it for the company. But leadership is like a Venn diagram where you have to lead yourself first, then you have to lead your team to get the results, and success is really in the middle. So that's the first things leaders need to understand. They also need to understand that, as all of us, we go through the majority of our life in interactions with individuals reacting, just reacting. Some of it is just we don't even think about it, right? That's
Mhm.
okay. But we've programmed ourselves so much to let our emotional brain be in charge. Somebody says something to you and you immediately label them. You immediately get mad. You immediately do whatever. Leaders do that as well, whether they want to or not. They're no better or worse than the team.
Yes.
So they have to understand themselves first and make a purposeful choice. It's that motivation. I can choose to be different, or I can choose to be happy and okay with just
Okay.
still treating people like that.
What advice would you give to new leaders who are struggling to feel in control and empowered in their roles?
You know, for new emerging leaders, unfortunately, most of the time we teach them skills, but we don't teach them the why of the skills or effective communication. Effective communications, but it's more about communicating to understand. And the best thing a leader can do is learn how to be curious and learn how to say, well, what would this look like to you? What would a win look like to you, Cammie? What do you see your role on the team? What would you like it to be? What do you think everybody else does? What do you think is the biggest problem we're trying to solve? How would you recommend we solving it? All these kinds of questions we never ask. And then one time I had a leader ask, actually a couple of them asked the whole team, put it in a box, never did anything with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're gonna develop curiosity to really understand people, not how do you feel about my solution, right? I didn't ask that, but how do you feel? How do you see this world that we're in? What would you do to make it better? Then I'd better be willing to listen. And third, I'd better be willing to reflect on it and respond and incorporate what I've heard and then give that back to the team. If you miss one of those components, then you're missing what your role is. How do I empower others when I'm so busy protecting myself as me, the leader?
Yes. Yes. Now, I did that one. The ripple effect of empowerment is something you mention often. Can you share an example of your approach on how it has impacted not just individuals, but their teams or their communities?
Uh, yes, thank you. In fact, a lady I just had recently worked with for a pretty long engagement, she was a business owner, not quite scalable yet, not quite profitable yet, but almost there. So all her time and effort and that of her team is going in to try and grow the business. A lot of pressure, a lot of, married, there's a lot of pressures to maintain that relationship while you're putting in 60 hours a week growing. There's financial issues, all these things driving on her. And she found herself always very reactive. She found herself going into business meetings to present her product going, I've done this and I researched this and made it all about her. And she was treating her team accordingly and would get very angry with them. As I started working with her and having her understand what she was doing and how communications, not just how it works, but what that layer of communication we're missing, what the value is in by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
She went from getting no second meetings to having every individual she's been working with, knock on wood so far. So she is at, I'm trying to do, I don't want to lie. I know that it has been over 15 second meetings that she has now, and it has progressed since then because she is now focused on them and not her.
Okay.
She's also on her team, and they are an international team. She has been able to do activities to bring them together and better understand each of their roles and will listen. She actually sets time in part of her staff meeting to simply listen.
Okay.
And so that's how she's impacting her team.
Okay. Now, you've often talk about helping people move from chaos to calm. What are some common patterns you've seen that keep people in a reactive state, and how do you guide them to break free?
So whenever our emotions start taking control, and we all can recognize this, we get upset about something has triggered us. And then the next thing that happens stacks on top of it. And the next thing that happens stacks on top of that, to where we are now reacting back because we cannot take one more We feel we cannot take one more piece, whether it's work, and then that your coworker comes over and she says, "Oh, we need that report now," or this report was done wrong. And then somebody else calls and they need something, and you're like, "But it's 5 minutes to lunch, and I was really hoping to just get 5 minutes to
Yeah.
myself." Whatever happens from that standpoint creates a mind of chaos, because all our emotional brain is thinking about is, do I fight back and say no? Do I flee? Do I run away and hide, or play on my phone, or read my book, or do something and not get the work done? Or do I freeze, which means I'm just sitting here going, I don't even know what to choose next. So some of the skills that you can do is, if you do some of the stress calming techniques, remember, they don't solve the problem, but they'll help you get back in control. You take a deep breath, but then you also spell respond or think about it and say, wait a minute, let's think about today.
Mm-hmm.
What is most important that I need to get done that's going to move my business forward, or me, or protect my boss, or do whatever? What might need to slide? Okay, I can make a list. I can reach out and pick up the phone and call somebody and delegate. So there's always a solution if we stop and give ourselves a chance to breathe. Then refocus by saying, no, I can respond, not react. What would a response look like? So some self-talk, and then just one action.
Okay. Now, your advice is to never give up the power of choice. How does this principle guide your coaching, and what outcomes have you seen with clients when clients embrace it?
So, it's fascinating in working with clients, because I saw it in myself and it gave me comfort that I wasn't alone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's always easier if somebody else fixes it for us. If
Yeah,
there's always someone else or some other reason that is preventing me from being as successful as possible.
because it
Whether
takes
it's saying that man was a
accountability.
misogynist. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Cami. So in helping others and through my coaching, by helping them just simply realize, wait a minute, I can choose to always react. Instead of now, because now now when you react, it's a choice. And you can choose to stay that way. And that would be what I would call the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Nobody has your best interest at heart more than you. So, but if you just make one choice in this situation with this person that always just knows how to get my triggers, I'm just going to say, no, just one choice, and let your legs shake and say, no, I'm going to use my most reasonable interpretation, as I demonstrated you earlier, and I'm going to start seeing how it goes. Then they start making all these choices. I did this. I go, what would Cheryle do? What would I choose? What would I respond? And I just keep hearing that. People will call and go, yeah, I chose to respond today. And I go, oh, what did it do for you? And
Yeah,
and then it just impacts other people, Cami. It's so wonderful. We give other people the grace to no longer stay mad, to no longer feel I'm going to be in a battle with them. So you just start seeing people calm down, others. So.
okay. Now, you were part of People Fusion, and now you're working on the Human Potentialist. What core ideas will you explore in this new book, and what do you hope readers will take away from it?
Well, and this new book that I'm working on is unfortunately, because I don't want it to be like this wholesale thing, I am going to use a lot of my personal story on how I got there to start explaining what to do, and then other case story studies to help people understand. First, you take charge of unlocking your own potential. What are you doing that's stifling it? So that's my intent, to get people to look inward. And
Okay.
it's my same process, right? My goal in my book is actually living out the process, which is to reflect on who I am. And you know what? No matter what's happened, that's okay. This is who I am. And instead of saying, well, in spite of, look who I am because of, look what I could do, then reframe your current situation. And what does that look like? So you can respond and become the person you want to be and who else you want to impact
I love that.
with that.
Yeah. Now, Cheryle, how do you personally recharge and maintain a positive mindset while guiding others through their own journey?
Oh boy, do I really have to share something that intimate? People will, they look at me and just go, "You've got to be kidding me."
No, they won't. It makes you relatable. They're gonna say, "Oh my God, why didn't I think of that?"
So, so many years ago, my mom was not doing very well and lived with us, and I was up most nights to listen. And I started doing online gaming.
Oh,
Uh, and I thought, that can let me, my mind will stop working when I'm just doing some sort of little online game or something. I have to focus on that. And so I can put this brain that never seems to stop on hold and let it focus over here where it might be problem solving in the background. So that's how I mentally will take a break from it. Physically, when I need that physical and I need that inspiration, then for me, it's being outside
okay.
and preferably in the mountains or a beautiful fall day where I see changing colors, because that lets me know that, look, as I'm changing myself, it's beautiful.
Yes.
It started beautiful as a green. It is turning into something beautiful with the colors. When the leaves fall off and I get that rest and the snow comes or the ice, it's a beautiful glistening effect. So at all levels, when I'm outside, I can just pause and be still and remember, no matter where I am on my journey, it is okay. But I have a choice to make. Do I stop here or do I take another step forward?
Okay, I love that. Now, this is my last question to you, and when I finish this, when you finish answering this question, tell the people how they can find you. I'm also going to drop myself off the screen so they can just focus on you. If you
Okay.
could leave our listeners with one powerful reminder about personal growth and resilience, what would it be?
It'd be choose to believe that you can be more than you are, that you have not reached your potential yet, and choose to say, I want to explore what that looks like. Instead of giving so many other people the control over me on how they perceive me, I am going to control that my own perception and my own narrative. And so that's the main thing. You can pause. You can take back control. You can move from a life of feeling overwhelmed and attacked at everything, even if it's attacked from what is happening to you or chores to do, to say, no, I'm going to do this one thing. I'm going to take back control and I'm going to do it this way in this situation. And the way people can get in touch with me, it's Cheryle Hays. I'm on LinkedIn, so please make a note of how I spell my name. It's a little different. I'm known as the Human Potentialist, and my website is my name, CherylHays.com. And I'm getting some others redirected for it, but those are the best ways to reach out to me.
Awesome, Cheryle. Now, you guys also can reach out to Cheryle at the 10 Dimensions of Wellness Virtual Summit. The website is going across the bottom of the screen, and I'll add all of Cheryle's contact information to this episode of the show as well. So, Cheryle, I want to thank you so very much for sharing and being on the 10 Dimensions of Wellness. Now, again, you guys, make sure you get your tickets because Cheryle is a VIP coach. You might get a chance to win an actual one-on-one with her during the 10 Dimensions of Virtual Summit. So make sure you're there. Make sure you get your tickets. Make sure you sign up because Cheryle has a lot to offer, as you guys can hear and see. So, Cheryle, again, thank you so much for being on this episode. And we cannot wait to see what you offer at the Virtual Summit this year.
Oh, I can't either. I already have goosebumps from it, sitting here going, okay, this is exciting.
You guys, thank you so much for taking a part of another episode of the 10 Dimensions of Wellness podcast. A heartfelt thank you again to Cheryle Hays for sharing her wisdom on intentional living and the power of creating psychologically safe environments. Her journey and insights are a powerful reminder that we all have the capacity to reclaim our power and inspire growth in ourselves and in others. Remember, Cheryle is one of our VIP coaches at the 10 Dimensions of Wellness Virtual Summit this year. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to join us at the summit to learn more about her and other wellness leaders. Check out out our website going across the bottom of the screen for all details. Now, thank you again for tuning in today. If this episode resonated with you, make sure you like, share, follow, and comment, and share it with someone who could benefit from Cheryle's empowering message. Until next time, remember, intentional choices create lasting change. Take care, you guys, and stay well.